Hey, Chap.
What's going on, bro?
I'm well, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yourself?
I'm very, very well. Very, very well. I'm even better now if you join me on the
Yeah.
live.
I apologize for the times that I missed, man. Here at home, working from home, kids, family life.
No, I totally understand. I totally understand, champ. I mean, like I said, it's run up to Christmas, one of the busy times of the year, so it's
Yeah.
understandable, probably understandable.
Yeah.
But I'm back again. I want to thank you again for joining me today. Absolute pleasure having you on. And
Thank you for having me.
welcome to the Pound for Boxing show. I'm gonna ask you a few questions. First of all, a few big fights on the weekend.
Right.
A few fighters you have been in the ring with. So we're going to start off with one of them, Gennady Golovkin.
Right.
On Friday night, got the knockout, in which we kind of expected. How do you see that fight going? Did you enjoy that fight? Do you see anything different from Golovkin?
I didn't see much difference. I didn't know who that guy was. I had never saw him fight before, so I would have, with his record, I would thought he would have proposed a stellar challenge. But I mean, then there's Triple G. You know what I mean? He's a phenomenal athlete. So I mean, I think he did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, getting the guy out quite early into the fight. Probably could have gotten stopped a bit earlier than that as well. He landed some good shots and dropped him
Yeah,
a few times in the
in the
previous
highlights,
round.
he was dropped a few times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hadn't heard of that guy before, so I can't really make an assessment as far as like how the fight went if I knew their styles. But Triple G did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah. So I want to talk about yourself. So obviously, I want to ask you, how do you first got into boxing and what inspired you? Who inspired you?
My grandfather. I come from that Afro-Cuban background. My grandfather is the one who, instilled the boxing in the family. Like everyone in the family fights, even down to the women. So, boxing is just entrenched in that culture. And my grandfather is the one who truly inspired me. And seeing my dad on TV, I was like, 5 or 6 years old. And my dad came to my school and he was like a superstar. And, seeing him fight on TV a few nights later was, I mean, I said, whatever he's doing, that's what I want to do. So it was cool seeing my dad as a star and a hometown hero, and yeah, those are the things that really encouraged me and made me say I want with what comes with this. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's obviously having a father who's kind of like a role model or idol. People look up to him as well, and you're seeing that it's going to rub off on you. You're going to want to do what he does.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
100%, I understand that.
right.
Uh, I want to ask you, basically, obviously, it's been a tough year this year with what's
hmm
going on, pandemic and stuff like that. How have you managed to train? How have the different training been, and how difficult has it been to get a fight this year?
It was difficult. I mean, I think, a lot of ring rust set in on a lot of different fighters. Myself, I haven't fought since June of 2019. So, I'm on an 18-month layoff. So, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I found ways to train. I mean, anyone who knows my story knows the whole thing about me, fighting out of a garage and fighting my way back to title contention out of a two-car garage. So it doesn't take much for me to go back to that mindset to keep myself, in tip-top shape. So, I mean, that's nothing for me. The pandemic, I've been through a few pandemics, if that was the case. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
know, as opposed to boxing, not an actual pandemic. But I'm just blessed. I've actually just been more enjoying and seeing the growth of my family. You know what I mean? On a family level, because there's gonna come a time where I'm not fighting anymore. And you know what I mean, the growth of my family and my wife's business is taking off really, really well. And it's showing me that different moves I made in the past and different investments, that me and my wife made in the past would pay off later. You know what I mean? Even at the time when we didn't see it, on faith and intelligence, we made some investments that really swung us through this pandemic, you know what I mean? And abundantly, you know what I mean? And my wife's business is crazy right now, you know what I mean? So I've been enjoying seeing just in the 18 months of being off, just seeing the growth of like family. It's like, it's crazy to watch. It's beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
So thank you, boxing, for giving me some time off.
I mean, it works both ways for people. Some people, obviously, it's been hard for, but some people have enjoyed that time to basically reconnect with their family, just enjoy the special times It could be birthdays they probably missed in previous years. It could be, I don't know, just parties and stuff like that. So to get the chance to spend more time with your family, in a way, it's a blessing. It really is a blessing.
My bad, my hat was scrunching my head. I'm listening.
No, I mean, like I said, it's been a blessing in a way to just to reconnect with family, see them every day.
Yeah.
Instead of sometimes, not, like you said, Christmas time coming up, sometimes people only see their family maybe one time a year. So to see your family often and just to see them grow, it's always a blessing.
And it forced us to like really, you know, let the best of us come out, because right before the pandemic, we relocated from our hometown in New York to Tampa, Florida. So not only are we getting used to everything, we're not around anyone we know. You know what I mean? We don't have any family close to us. We have some family, no core family that we disconnected from all of them. So to be able to pilot this ship and balance this ship and win abundantly, without a fight for 18 months, it's just been beautiful. And if I can say anything to anyone that's listening, is family is everything. You know what I mean? Communication and family is everything.
100%. I mean, there's some people who've lost family members during this pandemic. So, like I said, it's so important that we get this time to spend with our family and then every single moment, because tomorrow's never promised.
That's true. And we've been blessed. You know what I mean? Everyone who's able to still walk through this pandemic and follow the rules, like, we've been blessed, because no one's immune to this thing.
100%, champ. 100%. So obviously, I want to talk about you. Obviously, you fought for 2 world titles now.
Right.
Obviously, coming up short in the 2 challenges you had. Is that still remain a goal for you to challenge one more time for a world title before you hang up your gloves?
I beg your pardon?
You've come up short in 2 challenges to come for a world title shot.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still the goal, to fight one more time for a world title before you hang up your gloves?
3rd time's the charm, baby. Just like me and you on this podcast today. We're on live today. This is the 3rd time. 3rd time's the charm.
Yeah. Persistence,
man. You have to be. You know what I mean? When you look at, the way things are going, like, not just the pandemic, but, over the last maybe 10 years, there's been, a lot of, quote unquote, long shots who have been coming up and just, wreaking havoc on the game and showing you who's truly about the life that they, impersonate on television, So, this is a real dangerous time for people who don't have substance. And I have substance. So I think I think the odds play in my favor on this one.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like you said, the middleweight division and the super middleweight division is absolutely on fire at the moment. Obviously, we had a weekend packed with top elite middleweights and super middleweights. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's a few champions out there in WBO. Obviously, Billy Joe Saunders, who you fought before over in the UK. There's the likes of, obviously, Cali Plant and super middleweight.
Right.
Canelo, Triple G. Any one of the fighters you'd like to get in there with and just go for their world title that way? 111.
I just had to tell my family it's 111. It's 111. We always do that with the time. I mean, the person that I had, had my heart set on, over 2020 when my name was actually mentioned, was Canelo. And the reason why I had my heart set on Canelo so hard was because, everyone knows the story. 4 years ago, I fought Gabriel Rosado. And, the contract, there were 2 separate contracts signed. One for the Rosado fight. And then the second one said that the winner of me and Gabe Rosado would get a shot at Canelo in December of 2016. Yeah. Well, I got called in on like a 3.5 week notice. This is a 12-round title fight for like the WBO Intercontinental, and even Canelo fought for the WBO that night. He fought Liam Smith. And so it all lined up for Rosado to win because, he was with Golden Boy, Canelo's with Golden Boy. He's Puerto Rican, Canelo's Mexican. That's a big, you could turn, and Rosado he had just did the Creed movie. That could have been a big promotion. Mm-hmm. So they called Willie Monroe in on a 3.5 week notice and was like, if you beat Rosado, you'll get Canelo. It was almost like teasing me. Yeah. Well, I beat Rosado. and never got Canelo. It's because, and the script wasn't written for me to win, and I did. So I just think off of that, just off of the pure boldness and belief and faith in my team and, you know what I mean, myself, on a 24-day notice, come in, and then, like, I didn't just beat Gabe Rosado. Like, I completely outclassed him for 12 rounds. It was like, I think the closest margin was 8-4. I think 2 judges had it 10-2 and 1 judge had it 8-4. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't close like the Danny Jacobs one was. This was like a pure shutout. And I think just off of those boxing skills alone, and on the fact that I didn't have a full training camp, I did that off of my own money from a previous fight. I just invested back into myself. I didn't get training camp money or anything, and went in and beat Rosado on a 24-day notice. I think just off the sheer genius of the belief in myself, I should just be given that fight. That's just on moral grounds. I think I should be given that fight. But that's why I was so hard on really getting the Canelo fight, because I just felt like, yo, y'all put me in a hole to get the Canelo fight, and I truly dug myself out of that hole with flying colors. I deserved this. But instead of getting anything, I got put on the bench for a whole year. The title was stripped, and then I was able to go fight Billy Joe Saunders a year later to the date. And the only reason why I got that fight was because Aventil Horsese got caught on like a RICO charge. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So it was never in the cards for me to ever get those shots anyway. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, well, I guess it was, being that I got him. I can't say that. But what I'm saying is a Canelo fight would be number one. I would entertain a Jacobs fight, but me and Jacobs are really good friends, like really good friends. You know what I mean? We were on a few amateur teams together. We're both from New York. So I would entertain that, but it's not something that at heart I would say, you know what, I'm going to jump out there. I want Jacobs, because it's, you know what I mean? We're friends, you know? But, I mean, who's the kid? What's his name? I just drew a blank. Chris Eubank. That would be a good fight.
Well, we mentioned that in our stories. If anyone's watching, you check out the Pound for Pound Boxing Show stories. Yeah. You'll see we've done a poll. You with Chris Eubank. Chris Eubank Jr. is I don't know, he's a bit like Marmite, we call over here. Some people love him over here. Some people don't like him over here. Some people claim to think he's living off his father's legacy in terms of being the great Chris Eubank, and they haven't seen it. Obviously, he's been in there. The 2 people he's lost against is Billy Joe Saunders and George Groves, and they think he hasn't really excelled as a fighter. I think that would be a really good fight. If it does happen, where can you see it happening? Would you like to come over to the UK and have that fight?
I mean, that would depend on how much. I ain't gonna lie, we'll have to go to business for that one.
Yeah.
You know, like that would be, because my last experience in the UK wasn't a good one. You know what I mean? Like, and I was put in a gypsy community. I wasn't put in a community where it was the quote unquote nicer people of the UK. Yeah. So, but with that being said, like, there would have to be some real compensation, because my last, time in the UK was not a fun one at all. And I got kicked and punched in the nuts to boot. So
yeah, I was about to mention that. Obviously, Billy Joe's boy, it wasn't really great. It's a shame to hear, because obviously a lot of fighters who come over from the States really enjoy their time in the UK. We usually do show some good hospitality. So for you to go through that is a bit disappointing to hear, really. It really is.
I'm okay with it, because sometimes I'm not okay with it. I'm lying. I'm not okay with it. I don't trip over it anymore. You know what I mean? Because I realized that the opponent had to take it to that extent to squeak out a win. You know what I mean? So, that shows the greatness in me. However, I would be very uncomfortable, coming back to a place where, that would just be, that'd be stupid for me to just think I can go back to a place where I really wasn't welcome before, and I'm going to get like this extra welcoming. So I'm not saying that I won't, but the money's going to have to make sense for me to come to the UK to fight Chris Eubank.
100%, 100%. I totally agree with that. If that's how you feel, then you got to understand that. But it could happen in the States. Obviously, Chris Eubank Jr. does. Obviously, at the moment, he's in the States training with Roy Jones Jr. So you never know. Obviously, he signed a new promotion deal over there in the States. So it could happen in the States. You might not have to travel to the UK. It could happen over there.
That's a fight I would jump to. You know, I respect the fact that I would definitely need at least, you know, a 6 to 7 week training camp for that. And I respect him enough to say that I would need that time. That's not somebody I'll just be like, oh yeah, on a 3 week notice, let me go fight. You know, I respect him that much, but I think it'll be a good fight because I think he feeds my style and I feed his style. So it's a pick 'em fight. It's all about who does what they do better that night. I'm sure it'll be me, but in fact, it will be if the fight is signed. We'll see.
Well, I would love to try and push that fight 100% because that's a fight what I think will be a cracking fight. And if it is in the UK or if it is in the States, 100%, a lot of boxing fans will be tuning in to watch that fight, 100%. Yep. Obviously, you mentioned Danny Jacobs. You're good friends with Danny Jacobs, the Miracle Man. I'm a big fan of him, the Miracle Man. Obviously, he fought Gabe Rosado a couple of weeks ago now. Mm-hmm. Some people will say it was a draw. Some people will say Gabe Rosado won that fight. How did you see that fight?
I didn't see the whole fight. I just saw, you know, what the fans were talking about. And, you know, I would have to go back and watch the actual whole fight to make to give you a good assessment on that, because a lot of fans agree with Rosado. You know what I mean? Because he's a guy, he's the underdog that everybody's counting on. You know what I mean? So a lot of people subliminally give him rounds where he may not have won. You know what I mean? Or, you know, or just because he's bloody at the end, or he, you know, maybe pushed the real last 30 seconds of a round and did his, you know, his macho thing at the end. People think, oh, he won that round when like he really lost 2 minutes and 30 seconds of that round. So I don't know. I didn't see the fight, but I do know how the cards are played depending on the fighters. But with everybody saying that, I do think Danny Jacobs himself admitting, you know, in 2 different posts that it wasn't his best performance, that he did take Gabe Rosado lightly. I think he should go back to the drawing board and really, you know, check his love for the sport and check if he really still wants to do this, because it's tough. It's, you know what I mean? He's you got to look at the fact that he's got a lot of obligations right now. He's had to make at least between, you know, from what, and this is public information, not that I'm speculating, but, you know, from what we've seen, that it was the money he's gotten in Chavez fight and Canelo fight and the Triple G fight and, you know, the Derevchenko fight, he's cleared close to 30 million, if not a little more. So, you know, when you're able to live in this country 1 week and that country the next week and sort of live like a rock star and drive your favorite car and, you know what I mean, be out there amongst the stars, you know what I mean? He is amongst the stars right now. It's kind of hard to get back to that real grit and grind that takes to beat a guy like a Rosado or myself, you know what I mean? Or someone who still mentally feels like I'm in that place because I didn't get a world title yet, or I didn't see $4 or $5 million paydays. They're still in that place of building from a real strong and gritty part of themselves that will allow them to out hustle and out muscle you. So I think he should go and check if this is something he still loves, because if you're waking up on an air mattress, it's easy to get up and go run 5 miles. But if you're waking up in, you know, silk sheets, you know what I mean, and your Range Rover is sitting outside, you know, how you know, easy is it just lay down and accept some, you know, the fruits of your labor. So yeah, EXB mentality, that's me, brick by brick, got to keep building.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I love that you're still hungry to go out there and compete for another world title, and you're not giving up on a dream. And even after this difficult year, that you're still feeling that you want to go out there and prove something. And regarding to Jacobs, obviously, I was a bit disappointed as being a fan, seeing his performance. When you see the performance against that's a Triple G, who I thought he won that fight, if I'm honest. Obviously, the knockdown came early, but I thought he won that fight. And you see the performance like that against someone of his caliber. Obviously, this Gabe Rosado fight was basically talked about for a long, long time. And it finally did happen. And I thought they had like a genuine beef. So you're going to see that in the ring. And I think another thing that probably played its part is the fans. There's no spectators, no fans in the venue. Kind of made it a bit more difficult to perform. So I think that's another thing Jacobs needs to think about. Maybe if the fans were there, would they give him an extra lift to go and let his hands go a bit more? Yeah. That's what I think he's probably done. But I think to see Danny Jacobs at his best, he needs to be in there with the best. And maybe he took, like you said, he took Gabe Rosado lightly. Maybe if he gets in there with someone like Canelo again, Triple G, Khalid Plant, all these world champions, maybe you might see a different Danny Jacobs.
Well, yeah, I think so. But at the same time, that fight showed some flaws because of that lackluster. So now people understand that there are locks there that can be unlocked. You know what I mean? So now he's got to really go back and really fix some things, you know what I mean, in his camp. Probably be very private, I would suggest, because all of these other super middleweight champions who wouldn't fight him, you know what I mean, because they knew how great they saw Danny Jacobs at that time, now they're licking their chops after the Rosado fight. So now I think he needs to really go back to the drawing board, dig up some of his old stuff, and become, you know what I mean, that Brooklyn dog, you know what I mean, because he's going to need it, because now he's got other, you know, dogs looking at him like a pork chop. They're no longer looking at him as, you know, a superior figure, especially after the Rosado thing. So
100%. Obviously, we could talk about the middleweight division even more. You got Demetrius.
Like that against Rosado, I could have got a fight quicker than a year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah. I think, like I said, it's a good to hear that obviously we didn't know that. I didn't know that obviously you was in line to fight Canelo once you beat Gabe Rosado, and the fact that you beat Gabe Rosado and that world title shot never came is something that some boxer fans probably don't know, and it's good to hear. And I'm sure
me and my team have that contract in our emails. We joke about it all the time. Like, we all have that contract in our emails because I sent it to everyone on my team.
Wow. I mean, I'll ask you a question. If you couldn't fight someone like Canelo for the world title or Triple G, would you like to fight someone else for a world title? Someone like I mentioned, Demetrius Andrade, Khalid Plant. Would those fighters bring any interest to you?
Absolutely. I think Demetrius Andrade is another Danny Jacobs situation. You know what I mean? Somebody I'm friends with, been knowing him since we were silver gloves. You know what I mean? This is 8, 9 years old. I know his dad. I fought his brother. I beat his big brother. I think I only fought his big brother once. I fought somebody else from their team, but me and Boo Boo never fought. But I fought his big brother. I beat his big brother. So we've always had that, you know what I mean, closeness right there, but then the competitiveness. We sparred together as pros too. So, but just on the, you know, like, I know his family, he knows mine, you know what I mean? Like, me and Boo Boo were signed to the same promoter at one point, and they tried to get us both to like fight each other for like it wasn't even $100,000. I'll say that. Yeah. And me and Boo Boo both called each other like, yo, did you get this goofy contract? Like, and I'm like, we both were like, yeah, man, like, we're not going to fight each other. You can't get two friends to fight each other, and two lefties, you know, to fight each other for, you know what I mean, that little bit of money. And we're both in a sensitive position. We're both getting older. You know, Boo Boo has no losses, you know what I mean? So he's got to keep it that way because, you know what I mean, that's the way he's going to get those bigger guys. And now I have to overcome that, you know what I mean, and overcome the friendship, you know what I mean, being an underdog, because I know I'll be the underdog. I have 3 losses. He has none. But it would be a lot there to overcome for both of us to say, all right, let's make this a good fight. So it would have to be like some true money on the table for both of us. And then we both would have to be happy with it, you know, but that's another situation that's kind of close on the table just because we're cool, you know. And I'll be the first to say it, you know what I mean. I'm the same way with Brandon Adams, like, you know what I mean. I'm not fighting Brandon Adams again. We fought, you know what I mean. We became real good friends. You know, our wives know each other. You know, we're cool with each other. We talk to each other like we don't need to be fighting. You know, there's so many other middleweights, so many other super middleweights out there. You don't have to make 2 friends fight, you know.
I mean, that's good to hear. I mean, obviously, I said if it's got friendship there, you don't really need to. The fight doesn't need to be made.
Yeah.
Then there's other avenues to become world champion. So
Mhm.
I'm sure you're going to take that avenues to become world champion.
I'd like to see Boo really get his shot. I think a Golovkin or Canelo or Caleb Plant, I think those guys should stop running. And, Billy Joe Saunders, I personally think Billy Joe Saunders got caught on purpose so he wouldn't have to fight Boo Boo because he had to come to America. He didn't mind going to Canada to fight, David Lemieux, but they knew they had the upper hand, politically. But if you come to America to fight, Demetrius Andrade, that's probably 98% a promised loss. So I think he weaseled his way out of that pretty cool. But, I think these guys should give that kid a shot. You know what I mean? Because, like, every title he's had, he's tried to go get the big names. He's gotten to the point where they had to, like, take the belt from him and, give it to Liam Smith, and he had to move up to middleweight because no one will fight him at 54. Now that no one wants to fight him at 160, he's talking about jumping to 68. Like, how much more does a guy? He's gonna have to talk about going up to 175 and fighting Better Biev before somebody gives him a freaking chance. You know what I mean? I think one of them Charlos you got. From what I heard, the little Charlo coming up to 60 and Big Charlo going up to 68. Boo Boo rate, well, but they need to give him a shot. You know what I mean? Everybody running around here picking out, smaller guys or blown up welterweight so they can keep the get at me. I think somebody need to give Boo Boo a shot. That should be the next big fight. Somebody needs to give that man a shot.
Well, he signed to a big promotion in the DAZN and Matchroom Eddie Hearn over here, big in the UK, and I'm sure he'll get that fight. Obviously, the other fighters have been mentioned to fight alongside with Billy Joe Saunders, obviously, and a fight we have in UK called Liam Williams. Right. Obviously he's mandatory, and obviously I've interviewed Liam Williams recently, and he's saying that he wants that deal to happen next year for that fight to go through. Right. So, do you know much of Liam Williams?
You know what? They asked me to fight if I would come over on on like a month notice to fight him, and I was like, sure, send a contract. And then like 3 weeks later, it was like, nah, we're not fighting. This was like 2019 September. This had to be like September 2019, and I knew I was already in shape because I had just came off the Centeno fight, and a month after I did the Centeno fight, I moved to Florida, and I jumped right back in the gym that I was in. So I knew I was in tip-top shape. So when they offered me, I was like, okay, send the contract, I'm ready. And then everything got quiet for like a month, maybe 3 weeks, and then it was like, we're not fighting. The next thing you know, the pandemic hit. Yeah. But I don't know. I think he'll fight. I think somebody sort of like, I don't know what happened with that when everybody just got quiet, and then like I didn't get a email or a tweet back. I don't think he was scared. I think he's crazy. He'll fight anybody.
Yeah.
Hey, he's Liam Williams, right?
Yeah, Liam Williams. I like I said, he wants that Andrade fight. He's been talking about it for a long time. His promoter Frank Williams been talking about it for a long time. So, and I think he's willing to come to the States to have that fight.
I think it should happen, man. He crazy. Yeah. It's a good fight. I like him because he crazy.
Yeah, like, he's game. He's game.
He's not scared. Like I would never say like he's scared. I think maybe his team wanted to steer him in a different direction because they're like, nah, Monroe's a little dangerous. You know what I mean? And I get what they're probably saying. They got the whole high risk, low reward thing in mind when it comes to me, so I get it. But he crazy, man. Like I like him. If he's like, and I saw him on Twitter like really calling for Demetrius Andrade. If he truly at heart want that fight, I commend him. I think he's a little cuckoo though. I like him though.
I mean, sometimes you have to be that way, but like I said, he's a nice guy as well. Obviously, he spoke to him as well a few times, and he's a really nice guy, and I think he deserves it. Obviously, he's mandatory now. He's been mandatory for a while, and he's beat a few guys now. And I believe that, like you did, and I believe that you should still get a title shot. I believe he should get a title shot also.
What's that?
Just like you got your title shot, and I still believe you're going to get another title shot. I believe that he should also get another title shot against Demetrius Andrade.
Yeah. I think that would be the perfect fight to be made since none of these guys are trying to fight. I think him and Demetrius Andrade should, but it should be on Demetrius Andrade's terms because he was junior middleweight champion. He is signed to the bigger promoter, and that's just how the politics work in boxing. You know what I mean? But you know, I think that would be a good fight because because Leon Williams is not gonna back down. Like he's a tough cookie. Like I've seen. When I say crazy, I mean that in a good way because
Yeah.
the reason why I said I like it because it's like me. Like yeah, I'm gonna go take this tough one real quick. I seen this before. I can go. I seen something. You know, so for him to be like that, like I appreciate him. I appreciate that about him. Yeah, that would be a dope fight. I'm sorry, I'm like thinking about it. I'm daydreaming. That would be a
I
good
mean,
one.
hopefully 2021 it happens. We get this fight. I mean, I'm sure it will. I'm sure the fans will want to see it. Like you said, me and you want to see it. The fighters, I'm sure they want to get it done and have this fight. So why can't it be made? Why can't it be made? That's what I believe it should be.
The fight between Demetrius Andrade and
Liam Williams.
well, I think it's money. Is politics. Like people don't realize, I tell people this all the time. I say politics rule boxing. And they say every fighter says that. I said, bro, it's a red in the blue corner. That's Democrat and Republican. That's Crips and Bloods. That's politics. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's truly politics down to the core of it. And, you know, I get it. It's like stocks. You know what I mean? You invest into a fighter so you can make money off of them. You know what I mean? And turn them into this star. These guys that are making $30 million, this is why I don't envy it. You know what I mean? Is because I don't know what these people had to go through or what's being done in the political world to make sure that they get to where they're going. I'm not saying like any Illuminati stuff, but what I'm saying is like, yeah, this fighter may be getting, 20 million, but we don't know how many people he has to pay back that's in his pockets. You know what I mean? That 20 million could easily shrink to 4 million just because of the investors. It's like stocks, you know what I mean? So all these people that put in investments into making sure you got here, you got to this ranking, you trained at this gym, you got this many sparring partners, you got this to make you better, make the win easier or more definite. When that money comes in, they have to get their pay. So I don't know if, I don't know the stresses of having, 20 million, 5 million, $10 million, you know what I mean? So what I like to say is if the money swing goes a certain way, I think they should go 45, 55 because nobody wants to fight neither one of them because of the danger of it. Yeah. So I think, the whole 50-50, I'll go 45, 55. And then, or if we do 60-40, the person that gets 60 should come to the other's hometown. You feel what I'm saying? That type of thing. Like, learn how to balance these things because there's so much greed to where a guy that's making $30 million, because he's a $30 million company, so to speak, you don't have to worry about him losing because he can make sure, you know what, I don't want him wearing those gloves because I'll pay him another 1 million to not wear those gloves because I know those gloves are his favorite gloves. Yeah. I don't want the ring to be 22 feet on the inside. I want it to be 18 by 18 on the inside because I know he's a mover. He's going to try to run. Well, if I got all of the money and I got the money to pull these political strings, and when I say political strings, it's not like you sort of get the car of the rules. It's almost like when Sugar Ray Leonard fought Hagler. Yeah. He wanted the bigger gloves and the bigger ring because he wanted to move on Hagler. Yeah. And because Sugar Ray Leonard was the star and Hagler really wanted that fight and Sugar Ray Leonard was coming out of retirement, he got to play those cards to make it like a video game. You pay for your upgrades and that makes it so you have an easier chance at winning. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So in a fight like this where you have guys where they're both on the brink, it has to be some give and take. It has to be some give and take. Okay, if whatever guy takes 60, he has to go to the other, hometown. After that's settled, where are the judges coming from? Okay, we're gonna use all neutral judges. You feel what I'm saying? Well, if we're using neutral judges, that's more money that has to come in. And then you have to use what? Are they fighting for a title if they fight? Boo Boo still has a WBO middleweight.
Yeah, he does a WBO middleweight title, yeah.
So they will be fighting for a title, so it'll be WBO judges, which he'll understand that. But I'm just giving a small breakdown of how guys play, you know what I mean? Like if a guy is making $30 million a fight, it doesn't cost him anything to pay the guy that this guy's only getting 1.5 to 3 million anyway that he's fighting. And the guy wants more money. Well, I'll pay you an extra $500,000 to wear the gloves I tell you to wear. Yeah. Well, I'm only getting 3 million an extra. I'm gonna still beat, you know what I mean? You got that confidence because that money sounds good. Okay. Well, I know I'm a boxer and a mover. This guy's so you know what? if I'm a mover and I need that space, oh yeah, if you're fighting me and I'm the A side, I need a 22 by 22 ring. Well, you know that with a 22 by 22 ring, a guy like me who's a mover and a boxer, that's heaven for me.
Yeah.
But then you'll be like, okay, another 500,000 to fight him in a bigger ring. Okay, that's an extra million on top to wear different gloves and to fight in a bigger ring. I'm gonna be uncomfortable, but I can get it done. Money can buy you wins, so to speak. You know what I mean? And this is stuff that people don't understand. You know what I mean? If the fighters that make these, a lot of them probably never gonna lose because they just got too many upgrades. It's like a video game. Got too many upgrades.
It's true. I mean, it's true. I totally agree with you. I want to ask you, obviously, because obviously you talk about fights have not been made and difficulties of fights getting made. A fight was what English fans, British fans want to be made for a long time. It's two heavyweights. It's Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury for the undisputed heavyweight titles. Yeah. Obviously, over here, that fight will be massive. I'm sure in the States, that fight will be massive to watch. Right. And it's been talked about for a long time now. And now the fact that they held all belts, do you really think this fight could be made sometime next year?
I think so. I think that's a Wembley Stadium moment, though. Like, you need that place. Like, those are two, you know, boxing is big in America, but not as big as, you know, like in the UK. The UK doesn't have, you know, American football. I don't think you guys have baseball or basketball. Like, so when you guys get a good fighter, oh, you're behind them. Now you guys have two major players, two kings, and they're both from the UK. I think the fight should be made. I think the promoters should just stay out of the way and, I mean, make their money because the promoters always make the money. Yeah. I think they should just like humble themselves and just give the world what it wants for a moment. We just came through a pandemic. We survived. Give us that. Yeah. Like, don't try to make your money, but don't be greedy. Like, let that be one for the people. Let that be one for the fans. You know what I mean? For the ages. Like, I mean, from what I heard, Tyson Fury donated one of his whole person, like millions of dollars, to like foundations and charities and stuff and poor people. Yeah. Does that with half of the money he get, it'll probably be more than what he just donated. Let the fighters go ahead and fight. The people need that one.
Yeah. The legacy fight. Over here, the legacy fight. Yeah. Obviously, we've had great fights. We've had great champions over here. Lennox Lewis being one of them. Right. Undisputed champion. But we want to see that again. So that's a massive fight if it can happen over here.
Definitely.
Another question I want to ask you is, obviously, Canelo beat Callum Smith on the weekend. Callum Smith was 27-0. Right. First defeat of his professional career. Mm-hmm. And just maybe going up to light heavyweight now. Can you see anyone beating Canelo at all for the rest of his career?
You're looking at him.
Yeah.
Period, fool. That's my daughter. I mean, I had this. You see the smile? I couldn't even hold the smile for too long. Look, I know that. I just personally feel that I'm the antithesis. I think that needs to happen. And I think that 4-year thing going on 5 years now, I just think it needs to happen. I think they need to give an underdog his shot. And a fair shot at that. You know what I mean? I've been dealt a bunch of raw deals in the past. Didn't lose love for the sport. You know what I mean? Didn't try to slander anybody. Came back from the whole thing with Billy Joe Saunders, said thank you. Showed good sportsmanship. Lost a Triple G. Got up off the canvas, showed good sportsmanship, shook his hand. Saw him at another fight. We both took pictures together. Like, I've never been the bitter guy. You know what I mean? Billy Joe Saunders did inbox me and apologize about it. You know what I mean? So there's no personal bad blood there. And not because, you know what I mean, anything for Billy Joe Saunders, but I just don't carry that type of stuff on because it would make me heavy. But the point I'm making is you're looking at the complete opposite of Canelo. You're looking at the guy and this is nothing for me to like downplay him about. That's just his life. He's had the push. You know, he's had the money. He's had millions for about 10 years. You know what I mean? He's had good money in the bank. You know what I mean? He's had the world titles. They've given him the opportunity to stand on that stage and truly shine. And I've been the guy on the other side of the mountain who's been knocked down but jumped right back up. who's had more weight on him with less help, an eighth of the help that he had, but still kept going and stayed at that level. So just because of that, I think that opportunity should be given. And it's up to me to show that I am the one. But it's almost like this, right? It's levels, right? To this boxing thing. You got levels. And when people say it's levels to this, they're talking about who they think are good and who they think is not. And when I say levels, I'm talking about there's financial levels and there's skill levels. So you have different promoters who can put a guy in different situations, who has certain ties with certain sanctioning bodies, who can funnel him through the right way to make sure that he makes it up to this room for that title shot. Any fighter that's been in the game 5-6 years can tell you that. That's how it's ran. That's how the business is ran. So when you got a guy who's been able to ride the wave of, I'm not saying that Canelo never had to sacrifice, because I'd be lying. But what I'm saying is he's had the money behind him. He's had the push behind him. He's had the political power on his side. You got a guy like that, and he's made it to this level. And you got a guy over here who hasn't had that, who's actually had the exact opposite of that. And somehow they find themselves in the same room. The guy that's had everything starts to like, wait a minute. I know how hard it was for me to get here with the help that I've had. He's made it here with an eighth of that. I ain't messing with that dude. He crazy. You mean to tell me he made it to where I made it with an eighth of the help and everything against him? He's dangerous. That's why they call me high risk, low reward. You know what I mean? I'm known to go in the guy's hometown and beat him. Like, I'm known to be brought in on the B side and win. Like, oh, nah. He's not a puncher. And, like, straight up put straight strongholds on guys' careers, because they're like, man, nah, we ain't gonna really risk that. You get what I'm saying? So that's scary when you're a guy that you know has had that push up to the top, and you've seen that guy and everything he's been through and everything against him, and then he magically appears in the same room that you're in at that level. You're like, wait a minute. You start to look around like, yo, how did this happen? How did he get here? He was supposed to have been going 3-4 levels ago. How did he make it here? Then you start to think, oh, wait a minute, it was his work. Oh, wait a minute, he did beat that guy. Oh, dang, they did say he fought that guy and beat him on a 24-day notice. Dang, he fought 5 times out of a garage with no sparring. They start to think back like, man, this dude is savage. He wanted more than me. He's something different in him. We don't want to mess with that, because we've never tangled with something like that, and it could pop our bubble and we could lose our money and our investment. Then we're going to have to do some real wild stuff to get our stuff back. So we're going to avoid him a little bit.
Do you think the couple of fighters he's been in there with recently are not as hungry as you are? They
can't be. You know what I mean? They have the money, and then the money is already, they've had the money. They've had the world titles, and then the money is, this is why guys be like, oh, he's not a world champion, I'm not fighting him. He's like, I don't want to face that. I know what it's like to fight that hunger. That's not the hunger I'm trying to face right now. I want another champion that done fizzled out a little bit like me, who's slowed down a little bit like me, who has a few bumpers on him like me, who's going to play it safe. I don't want that reckless dude coming up here, because he ain't had this before. He going to do everything he can to get it. So, yeah, he wants to fight other champions. I mean, he made another champion look bad. He's supposed to. That's what champions do. We all on this level for a reason. Now we get to see the survival of the fittest. We all made it to this championship level. I'm going to fight another. We're going to see who's really the baddest up here. But then when you get a guy that ain't had what you guys had, and he end up in that room, they're like, all right, wait a minute. Who let the party pooper in? You know what I mean? It's like that. That's how they look at it. Who let this guy in? What do they call him? The spoiler in. Who let him in?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if that fight's happened, do you want it to be your next fight, or do you want another kind of like a tune-up fight before you take him on?
It wouldn't matter. I would prefer it be my next fight, because I know that they would probably put me in a fight to try to do the same thing they did with Rosado again, and I'll win. But then they'll come out that they've had a better look at me. I want them to think I'm who I was when they thought I was who I was. Then they'll find out who I really am, and it'll be too late. You get what I'm saying? I've thought about this over and over and over and over again, bro. I've dreamed it over and over and over again, bro. Like I've literally. You ever watched Batman, Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah, massive, amazing film, amazing film.
Did you see the part where Bane like broke Batman down?
Yeah.
Like just go listen to the dialogue. Don't even worry about what's like. Listen to what Bane says. Like Bane is like, yo, like when Batman like started throwing the little lights and stuff, and like Bane was like, those are powerful ages to the uninitiated, but we are initiated. He's like, yeah, them tricks work with everybody else, but like I know you better than you know yourself. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Then Batman hit the lights, turned the lights out. He said, oh, you think darkness is your ally? Okay. All right. You adopted the dark. You played around with it a little bit, bro. I was born in this. I am what you're trying to be. I didn't see the light till I was a man. By then I was blind, and then he choked him, broke him down. Then he told him, I'm gonna show you where I made my home while preparing to bring justice. Then I'm gonna break you. He was right up under Batman's nose all this time, and Batman never knew.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a great insight. That's a great insight if you think about it. The way you just said that, and then obviously the way you're feeling, and the way you're thinking that you can maybe break Canelo down. I mean, that would be, like I said, that'd be great if it happens. I mean, like I'm sure he'll be open to it. Well, I want to ask you, what would you want to say to the likes of, obviously, if it is Eddie Hearn or he's Canelo's team? What do you say to his team about that fight? What sort of message would you give?
I just say, yo, let's show up and give the people what they want. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people say if they want the Triple G fight, okay, you fought him twice already. But fight the complete antithesis of yourself, and we know that you've had trouble with this style with Lara. Like, that was a fight where everybody was sort of biting their nails like, man, I don't know. You know what I mean? Which a lot of people thought Lara won.
I personally thought Lara won.
Huh?
I personally thought that Lara won. I speak to a lot of my friends, and some people say talk about Canelo. I think he lost that fight, but people don't really talk about it.
So if you're truly the greatest pound for pound, let's go back and visit your snag real quick and make sure you're 100%, because 99 won't do. Yeah. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's go back and find somebody who's a complete antithesis of you in every way, and he has that kryptonite that you deal with, and let's see if you can take it down. If he can, all credits to him. I'm not the guy to make up any excuses. Hey, look, I'll shake his hand, but I don't think I'll have to shake his hand to say you were the better man. I'll shake his hand to say I believed in myself and I told you so.
Amazing, champ. I want to thank you for taking the time to join me on the Pound for Pound boxing show. Absolute pleasure having you on, champ. And the last thing I want to ask you, a message to your fans for going into 2021.
Man, love your family. Love God, you know, and do everything from love. You know what I mean? Do everything from love. Don't do anything for love. You know what I mean? Do everything from love. And you know, that's something I've truly had to learn in being a fighter, because I love boxing. Take the ups and downs that come with whatever you love. You know what I mean? Because it's just as well as there's a bad side, there's a good side, and vice versa. So, you know, as well as you love the fruits of the labor, don't be afraid to plant that seed and really nurture it and watch it mature, watch its maturation, watch it grow, fertilize it, you know what I mean? Give it the necessary things that it needs, you know, along the way. So do it when you're tired, do it when you're mad, do it when you're hurt, do it when you're sad, the same way you would do it when you're happy. You know what I mean? And just work from there, because you'll appreciate life if you work from there. I'm learning that, so that's why I want to spread that.
Brilliant, champ. Absolute pleasure. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy 2021. And I'm looking forward to seeing you back out in the ring soon, champ.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, man. God bless. Take care of yourself.
Go watch Dark Knight Rises, man, and listen to that dialogue.
I will again now. Now you said that, I will again now, champ, man.
Yeah.
All right, man. Take care.
Peace.
Peace.